Welcome to the first of a series where I document my first attempt at some serious gardening and all the ways I have to come up with to eat it before it spoils on the vine. This was my garden when I first started around April of this year. I put in zucchini and squash, corn, tomatoes, leeks, potatoes, and onions. A summer garden is actually one of the easiest gardens you can start with if you're just starting to learn, as most of the plants are easy to grow and very hard to kill. Now we'll jump forward to June and see how it's gone. First, we'll have to get past this wall of echinacea or purple coneflower and past the kiwi vines to find our gate that leads into this absolute jungle of food. And now you may be wondering if I planted too many plants for the space that I have, and you would probably be right. But I also added some raised beds this year to try to increase my growing space, and I kind of like the idea of my garden looking like a wild fairy garden that I just stumbled into. Everything seems to be growing really well this year. I got really excited as I was panning around and saw this little hint of red, because this is the first fresh tomato of the season. I also thought that I had been checking my cucumbers pretty good, but apparently I missed this giant one right here, which probably won't taste too good, so I'll let my mom's chickens have this one, and I'll just make sure to pay a little more attention in the future. I also saw some of these little rubies hanging off the vine. This is the first little cherry tomatoes I've gotten, and they're super sweet and super juicy. Now this is the star of today's episode, a zucchini. Since there's only one, we'll go ahead and make some of my favorite zucchini nut bread ever. I also found some yellow squash. So on another episode, I'll show you how to fry this up, good old Southern style. Now we'll go ahead and close the gate on our fairy garden. This just helps keep bunny rabbits out and also the neighbors' cats and dogs. Let's go ahead and review what we got out of the garden today. We got our squash, a few cucumbers that weren't too big, this juicy tomato, and of course our zucchini, and then these little cherry tomatoes that I'm fixing to eat. Now we'll go ahead and gather up all of our ingredients that we're going to need for this zucchini bread. And we'll start by prepping all of our ingredients, which means we've got to shred 2 cups of zucchini. And once you have your tower of zucchini made, we can let our stand mixer do most of the rest of the work. I usually go ahead and start by adding the flour and sugar in my mixer. Give that a little mix, and then you'll add your oil. And now while it's going, I go ahead and add my vanilla. And while it's still going, go ahead and add in your eggs. And it may seem like it's not enough liquid, but don't worry, we're gonna add our zucchini and that's gonna make everything perfect. And now don't forget your cinnamon. This is the best part and really makes this bread awesome. And now the recipe calls for walnuts. I did not have any, and so decided to go ahead and use up this bag of pecans I had. And I decided to chop them up a little bit more fine, but that has more to do with the fact that I love using this little chopper than anything you have to do. Now you're gonna add these nuts to the mixer, give one more good mix to incorporate it really well, and now you're ready to bake. So go ahead and take your 2 bread pans and spray them really well. Or I'm sure if you like, you could use baking parchment. Now divide your dough between the 2 pans. And you're going to bake these in a 350-degree oven for about 45 to 55 minutes. Just make sure a skewer inserted in the middle comes out clean. Place these on a cooling rack and leave them in the bread pan until they are almost completely cooled down. And now we're going to cut into this wonderful bread. It's perfect for tea, coffee, breakfast, a snack, or any time you want it. They also freeze really well, so if you have a bumper crop of zucchini, don't be afraid to make several loaves and pop some in the freezer for later. So enjoy your bread, and I'll see you next garden time. And if you like historical cooking and unusual cookbooks, here's 2 more videos you might enjoy. And make sure to like and subscribe for more foodie adventures.